Welcome to the channel where we dive deep into the world of economics. Today we're exploring the S&P 500's recent high and the concerns it has raised about a potential economic downturn. Picture this. The S&P 500 has just hit its zenith for 2023, but the view from the top isn't all rosy. There's a cloud of concern hovering over the economic landscape, a cloud eerily reminiscent of the one we saw in 2007, right before the financial crisis of 2008. We're seeing some uncannily familiar signs. Just like in 2007, leading economic indicators are on a downward spiral and the yield curve has inverted. Now, if you're not an economist, an inverted yield curve might sound like some complex financial jargon, but in plain English, it's a sign that investors are getting nervous about the future. They're expecting lower interest rates ahead, which usually happens when the economy is about to hit a rough patch. What's more, the Federal Reserve, the U.S.'s central bank, has tried to engineer a soft landing for the economy in the past, to gently slow down economic growth without triggering a recession. But history has shown us that these attempts often don't pan out as planned. So, as we stand at the height of the S&P 500, looking out over the economic landscape of 2024, we're faced with a question. Are we on the precipice of another financial crisis akin to 2008? The answer isn't clear-cut. There's no crystal ball that can predict the future of the economy with absolute certainty. But what is certain is this: caution is our best ally in times of uncertainty. So, are we on the brink of another 2008 crisis? Well, the answer is not certain, but it's crucial to remain cautious. In this part of the video, we'll discuss the role of excess savings and increased national debt in the recent GDP growth. In the aftermath of the pandemic, households accumulated a significant amount of excess savings. This surplus was primarily due to reduced spending opportunities during lockdowns and stimulus checks from the government. These savings found their way into the economy in 2023, fueling a robust GDP growth. Simultaneously, the national debt surged to unprecedented levels. The government, in its bid to cushion the economic blow of the pandemic, spent heavily, thus increasing the national debt. This increased spending also contributed to the GDP growth, as government spending is a component of GDP. However, these factors are not sustainable. The excess savings will eventually deplete as households return to their pre-pandemic spending habits. As for the national debt, it's like a credit card bill. The more you borrow, the more you have to pay back, with interest. So, the high national debt is a burden that future generations will have to bear. Now let's take a quick look back at 2007. The national debt and the Federal Reserve's balance sheet were significantly lower than they are today. Yet, we still experienced a financial crisis in 2008. Today, with a larger national debt and a bloated Federal Reserve's balance sheet, the economy is arguably more vulnerable than it was in 2007. While these factors have bolstered the economy in the short term, their long-term effects might not be as rosy. Now, let's shift our focus to the consumer and the commercial real estate sector. Inflation is a silent thief, subtly eroding the purchasing power of consumers. As prices rise, the cost of living increases, putting immense pressure on the everyday consumer. This pressure is not just limited to the grocery store aisles, but extends to the housing market, with the commercial real estate sector in particular facing a potential crisis. As businesses grapple with the economic climate, many are considering downsizing or even closing their physical locations. This could lead to a surplus of commercial property on the market, causing values to plummet. A commercial real estate crisis has far-reaching implications, not just for businesses, but for the economy as a whole. Imagine a domino effect. Businesses shutter, property values drop, investment portfolios take a hit, and consumer confidence wanes. It's a cycle that feeds on itself, pushing us closer to a potential economic downturn. The pressure on consumers and the potential real estate crisis could be the tipping points for an economic downturn. As we wrap up our discussion, it's clear that while the economy has seen growth, there are significant concerns that need addressing. We've traveled through the highs of the S&P 500 in 2023 and explored the looming fears of a potential economic contraction, reminiscent of the 2008 financial crisis. We've delved into the role of excess savings and a bloated national debt in fueling the recent GDP growth, and how these are no longer sustainable. We've also shed light on the increasing pressure on consumers due to inflation, and the potential crisis brewing in the commercial real estate sector. The current economic environment has eerie similarities to that of 2007, with declining leading economic indicators and an inverted yield curve. In this complex economic landscape, staying informed and cautious is of utmost importance. Remember, knowledge is power when it comes to economics. So, if you found this video informative and want to stay updated on these topics, don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more. Until next time, keep an eye on those economic indicators and stay savvy.